Hello and welcome to Experian Expert Talks. Today we'll be speaking to David McGeechee, the head of open banking at Experian EMEA, to discuss how open banking is changing the way that financial services and telecoms businesses interact with their customers. Thank you for joining us, David. Can we start with some of the big trends we're seeing regarding the adoption of open banking?
Yeah, hi Simon. It's a great question to begin with. So across our patch, we've seen a real considerable variation in the uptake of open banking. We've got countries like the Netherlands where we see nearly 70% of the businesses, the financial services and the telco business have already invested in open banking. But then we also see in other countries it can be quite low, something around 20% of the adoption. Now, in the countries where the adoption is quite low, what we see is a large proportion of those businesses are actually planning to move forward with open banking over the coming years. And in Spain, for example, a huge 61% of the firms in our survey are planning to invest in the short to medium term. So overall, if we look at all the respondents we had, nearly 86% of those in the survey are planning to invest in open banking very, very shortly, which is, that number is a really great place to be for us and for those businesses.
Very interesting. We know that the success of open banking is heavily dependent on consumers agreeing to allow businesses access to their financial data. What does our research reveal about this?
So the research this year is really, really encouraging, and that's almost 50% of the respondents say that they are willing to share the data with us, which is a phenomenal amount. And that is a trend that I think is going to be increasing as more people become aware about open banking and the values it can bring to them. That's an increasing trend. But if we look at what's happening in the other 50% space, we've got 21% who said they are unlikely to share the data with us. Now, this is an interesting group because almost half of that 21% would be willing to change their mind and share data if they can begin to see the value that it could bring to them. And, this might be speeding up an application process or not having to send in physical paperwork, put it in the post and send it. So there's good reasons why people within that 20% block would actually change their mind with the right incentive given to them. So then we have the leftover 30% who are kind of in the undecided space. And this is where we have a real opportunity for businesses who can, when express the right message to those customers, we call it the value exchange. So what do I get in return for my data? And for the companies that can begin to express that value exchange, then there's a real opportunity to convert that 30% into those who do actually consent and give the data. So if you look at across the patch, then we've got a large chunk, 50%, who were willing to give the data. We've got some who were willing to give the data for the right reasons and the right incentives, which leaves only a small group. I think it's about 10% of people who simply are not willing to provide access to their account information.
That sounds very positive. You mentioned a few of the reasons why those in the unlikely to share group would potentially change their minds. Could you go into more detail about the value exchange that businesses need to provide to change their minds?
Yeah, sure, certainly. We kind of see that when customers are asked to share their account information, because it is quite a big thing, providing a third-party access to your account information, we need to elaborate the benefits to the customer. And as well as the benefits, there's also a natural concern about the security. And one of the big items that we see, particularly with the research, is that the security is really, really important to the customers when you're asking for access to their account. So making sure that the message is there, that this is safe, this is secure, is really important to the customer to give them that sense of safety, that what we are accessing within the account is all within the bounds of security, safety, and they understand what is happening to their data. So our research is showing then that is a real need to elaborate to the customers as you go through that journey with them. But there are other factors that come into play with the value exchange that we call it. And this is understanding that if they are to share their data, this means that the application process is much faster, it's easier. They don't have to send paperwork into the branch, so there's no printing out your documents and putting it in the post. So again, it comes back to that. It's faster, it's easier, it's also safer because you're not sending in any manual paperwork that may go missing in the post or lost or just simply takes time to process manually. So the combination of that message is, yes, it's safe and secure. Yes, we can speed up the process for you. You may even, because of the value of the data and the depth of the data you get from that, they may also get a preferential loan rate on the back of using the open banking data. So all of these factors are the value exchange that we say, and businesses that can really elaborate this to their customers are the ones that will benefit the most from the open banking opportunities.
Okay, yes, it becomes very clear how important that communication is to demonstrate the value exchange. To conclude, David, could you please summarize the main benefits that businesses are seeing from open banking?
Yeah, so this is one thing that our research made really, really clear to us. If you look at the world that we live in now, is very different to what it was a few years ago. And the current macroeconomic section is quite challenging for some of the consumers out there. So the open banking allows customers to share their information with the businesses. That gives the opportunity to really understand customer insights. Because of that, we can be more financially inclusive in terms of how we understand the customer, what's best for the customer, what is the right way to begin to treat the customer. And if we look at the open banking data, it's almost real time. It's a really good visualization of how that customer is living their and using their financial life, if you will. And because of that, it's up to date. It's right on time with the as to how they are operating at the moment. So when we look at the traditional data around the credit bureaus that we use, that's built up over historic periods. So you begin to see customers that potentially have thin files or less credit bureau data available. Having the open banking data there actually can make a real difference to the way that they are able to go about acquiring financial services. And the beauty of the open banking is the depth of the data. I mean, typically you can get around 12 months of data from accessing a bank account. And this is full of income and expenditure, and we can begin to understand really where that customer is sitting in their financial life cycle. And because of that, it's comprehensive enough to do risk assessments and create scores that aren't dependent upon a long credit bureau file, a lot of history within the credit bureau. So that depth of data that we get from consumers' information is very, very powerful in the open banking world. And because of that, it also enables that responsible lending because of the level of insight that our financial services can understand about the customer. It's responsible lending really becomes front and center. Another significant benefit is around the sharing of the data. So you can share your data once, or you can share your data on a recurring basis. And that sharing of the data on a recurring basis means that we can begin to look at use cases that support the kind of financial health, looking at people's financial health over time. Do they need some financial support as we go through that? So this is understanding the customer almost on a daily basis through the power of open banking and having the recurring access to people's accounts. So all of these begin to drive that value exchange. What benefit is the end customer going to get from sharing the data? And open banking has, it's a lot of potential, both for the customer to receive a better deals, better opportunities, to become faster and more agile in the way they apply for their financial services. But also, businesses then they get deeper insights about the customers, so they can understand what the customer is, what is the best available option to support that customer given their circumstances.
Some really great insights there, David. Thank you so much for your time.
No, you're very welcome. Thank you, Simon. Good to talk to you.
For more information, you can download our latest report. It's entitled Data, Analytics and Technology. You'll find the link below. Thank you.